Ladies and gentlemen, in this season of acceleration, in this year of divine alignment and unstoppable momentum, there is one truth you cannot ignore. Your life moves in the direction of your words. Every breakthrough, every promotion, every victory starts with what you say to yourself when no one else is watching. You don't rise by accident, you rise by declaration. Today, I'm here to give you 9 powerful things to speak over yourself every single day, because in 2025, your mindset will either be your master or your miracle. If the words in your mouth don't match the vision in your spirit, you will sabotage your own assignment. You don't need more talent. You need more truth in your mouth. You don't need more followers. You need more focus in your declarations. Your self-talk is either an anchor or a launching pad, and most people are failing not because of opposition, but because of inner dialogue that betrays their destiny. There is a difference between waking up and rising up. Most people wake up every day by accident, but those who live on purpose rise up with intention. You weren't just born, you were sent. Until you acknowledge that your life has a divine assignment, you'll keep drifting through days without direction. Purpose is the internal compass that keeps you aligned with heaven's design for your life. Every single day, you've got to look in the mirror and declare, I was born for a reason, and today I walk in that reason. That's not just self-talk. That's spirit talk. Because when you know you have a purpose, you stop tolerating confusion, procrastination, and fear. Purpose kills distraction. Purpose tells your emotions, you don't run me today. Your purpose is not a job. It's not a title. It's not a position. It is your divine function. You can get fired from a job, but you can't get fired from your assignment. Purpose is your permanent calling to be a solution in the earth. That means your value doesn't come from what you do. It comes from what you were created to deliver. When you declare your purpose daily, you remind your mind who's in charge. You override the noise of doubt, insecurity, and the world's expectations. You silence the lies that say you're not good enough, because the truth is you are more than enough when you're walking in what you were sent to do. Power is found in alignment. Purpose isn't passive, it's activated by declaration. When you speak it, you awaken it. When you declare it, you give it permission to lead you. Don't wait for purpose to knock on your door. Knock on the doors of heaven and say, show me what's mine. I'm ready to walk in it. You can't afford to let the world name you. The only name that matters is the one your Creator gave you. And when you wake up every morning and remind yourself of your true identity, you take back territory the enemy tried to steal through confusion. Purpose is your protection against identity theft. Let me tell you something, your future is depending on your declaration. Don't let another day go by mumbling through life. Open your mouth and speak the blueprint. Say it with authority. I'm not here to survive. I'm here to build, to influence, to create, to bless, to reign. That's purpose in motion. When purpose is declared consistently, it becomes your operating system. You start thinking different. You start walking different. You start attracting different. Purpose filters your decisions. Purpose tells you what to say yes to and what to walk away from. It gives your no power and your yes direction. And let's be clear, purpose doesn't guarantee ease, it guarantees meaning. There will be resistance, but when you're walking in purpose, the resistance doesn't break you, it builds you. It grows your capacity for the assignment you were born to carry. So every single day, before you leave your house, before you scroll your phone, before you answer to people, answer to your calling. Declare your purpose live from your identity and walk in your assignment like the world depends on it. Because it does. You have the power to create wealth through divine ideas. Most people chase money without realizing that true, lasting wealth doesn't come from the outside. It flows from within. Wealth isn't just about resources, it's about revelation. When you tap into the ideas planted in your spirit, you begin to unlock streams of income that are directly tied to your divine assignment. You weren't created to survive paycheck to paycheck. You were created to be a producer, a creator, a multiplier. And that starts by understanding that your mind is heaven's factory. God doesn't drop money from the sky. He gives ideas. And those ideas are the seeds of wealth. An idea can change your family. An idea can shift your generation. An idea can break cycles of poverty that have run through your bloodline for decades. But it takes a renewed mind to recognize the value of an idea and the courage to act on it. Too many people ignore the whispers of creativity because they expect their blessing to look like a paycheck. But the real blessing is when heaven trusts you with a vision. Inside you is a vault of solutions the world is waiting for. Every problem is a doorway to provision for the one who solves it. If you want to walk in financial overflow, don't just pray for money, pray for the idea that unlocks it. Pray for the clarity, strategy, and boldness to take what's in your spirit and bring it into reality. The wealthiest people on earth are not always the smartest or the most connected. They're often the ones who believed in their ideas long before the world did. You must stop treating your ideas like suggestions and start treating them like assignments. When God gives you a business idea, a product, a system, or a vision, it's not random. It's divine instruction. And when you act on it with faith and diligence, the results are supernatural. You won't need to chase money because your idea will attract the resources, the people, and the opportunities that align with your purpose. This is why your thinking is your greatest asset. What you meditate on today becomes your reality tomorrow. Your wealth is connected to your ability to steward ideas. That means writing it down, planning it out, speaking life over it, and executing without apology. Stop sitting on gold while complaining about lack. Stop burying what you should be building. You're not broke, you're underdeveloped. There's a difference. When you activate your ideas with discipline and action, the overflow will follow. Money will begin to serve your mission instead of controlling your emotions. Every divine idea has a time and a territory. When you stay connected to the source, your timing becomes prophetic. You'll start releasing things in the earth right when they're needed. You'll stop copying others and start pioneering what's never been seen. Because what you carry is not a copy, it's a call. And it's your responsibility to cultivate it like a faithful steward. Wealth isn't just about what you gain. It's about what you release. The idea is the seed, but the action is the water. You must speak over your ideas. Speak life over your creativity. Speak prosperity over your innovation. Don't wait for the world to validate what heaven already confirmed. When you declare wealth with your mouth and align your actions with your words, you give your ideas room to breathe and grow. Stop hiding what God gave you. Stop minimizing the power of what's been placed in your spirit. The more you speak, the more you believe. And the more you believe, the bolder you build. Wealth is a byproduct of obedience. The idea itself is not enough. You must execute. You must rise early, plan thoroughly, act consistently, and refuse to quit. You must do it when no one sees, when no one supports, when no one celebrates, because you're not working for applause. You're working for impact. The marketplace rewards those who solve problems with precision and excellence. And every divine idea you execute with integrity increases your influence and multiplies your income. Don't despise small beginnings. That little idea you keep overlooking may be the very thing that funds your freedom. Don't judge your vision based on your current resources. God doesn't give you a harvest, He gives you a seed. And that seed must be planted, watered, and protected until it grows. The world may not see it yet, but if you keep building in silence, soon they'll witness the fruit. Your wealth is waiting for your obedience. Your future is waiting for your discipline. Your legacy is waiting for your idea. You are one decision away from transformation, one idea away from overflow, one act of obedience away from opening generational doors that no man can shut. The world is not waiting for more consumers. It's waiting for creators. You have something inside of you that can shift atmospheres, break limitations, and fund visions. You are not ordinary. You are a carrier of divine strategy. And when you walk boldly in that truth, you stop asking for permission and start building with purpose. Fear is a thief. It doesn't knock at the door politely. It barges in uninvited, sits at your table, and tries to rewrite your destiny. But every single day, you have a choice to allow fear to narrate your story or to take the pen back and write with faith. Fear always speaks in limitation. It will tell you that you're not ready, not worthy, not capable. But the moment you choose faith, you silence that voice and elevate your vision. Fear is loud, but faith is louder when it's backed by conviction and action. Faith is not a feeling, it's a decision. It's deciding to move forward when the facts don't support you. It's building when the money isn't there, speaking when the crowd is silent, and showing up when nothing in the natural says you should. Fear demands proof. Faith demands obedience. That's why so many people stay stuck. They're waiting for everything to make sense before they move. But purpose doesn't wait on clarity. It waits on courage. You either walk by sight or you walk by trust, but you can't do both. The battlefield is in the mind. Every day you wake up, fear will try to greet you before your feet hit the floor. It will dress itself up as logic, caution, or practicality. But its root is always bondage. It wants to delay your obedience, paralyze your decision-making, and shrink your confidence. Faith, on the other hand, pushes you to act when nothing looks right. It challenges your comfort zone, dares your insecurity, and forces your potential out of hiding. Faith doesn't need comfort. It creates results. You can't entertain fear and expect progress. Every time you say, "What if it goes wrong?" you're empowering the very thing you were called to conquer. Faith says, "What if it works? What if this idea breaks a generational curse? What if this step opens a door that shifts your bloodline?" That shift in language is what separates those who survive from those who build. You don't overcome fear by wishing it away. You crush it by moving forward in spite of it. Bold action backed by belief is your weapon. You were never meant to be ruled by fear. You were designed to lead with faith. That means your words, your energy, your decisions, your discipline, all of it must come from a place of inner confidence, not outer chaos. Fear feeds off of distraction and hesitation, but faith multiplies with consistency and clarity. If fear is trying to hijack your momentum, you need to remind yourself who you are and what you've been called to do. You don't need everyone's agreement. You need your own agreement with God's assignment over your life. Every breakthrough begins where fear ends. The moment you stop giving fear a voice, your faith gets louder. Faith speaks the language of now. It doesn't delay. It doesn't defer. It doesn't negotiate. It moves with authority. If you want to see supernatural outcomes, you have to stop consulting fear before making decisions. Stop asking fear for advice. Start moving like your vision is non-negotiable. Because when you operate in faith, you activate favor. And when favor is activated, systems, people, and resources shift on your behalf. Fear always focuses on failure, but faith focuses on outcome. And the truth is, failure is never the end unless you quit. Faith doesn't fear failure. It understands it's part of the journey. People paralyzed by fear won't try anything new, won't speak up, won't risk discomfort. But faith knows that growth lives on the other side of risk. Playing it safe might protect your ego, but it will cost you your destiny. Faith isn't reckless. it's rooted. It's rooted in purpose, conviction, and divine timing that can't be explained by common sense. When fear dominates, you settle. You accept average. You choose what's predictable instead of what's possible. You stop dreaming and start doubting. But when faith dominates, you become a problem solver, a creator, a leader. You start seeing open doors where others see obstacles. You stop waiting for approval and start building without applause. Fear will always whisper, "Who do you think you are?" Faith boldly declares, "I know exactly who I am." It changes your posture, your presence, and your impact. Faith is the fuel of builders, leaders, visionaries, and entrepreneurs. It's not optional, it's essential. In a world that rewards noise and chaos, faith is the inner stillness that produces outer success. It anchors you when storms come, guides you when paths are unclear, and sustains you when resources are tight. Without faith, you'll start strong and give up early. With faith, you'll endure long enough to see what you built transform lives. Every kingdom assignment requires faith because you're not just building for yourself, you're building for legacy. Fear may show up, but it doesn't have to stay. It doesn't get to rule. You get to choose. Will you wake up every day and rehearse reasons to delay, or will you declare truth and move like you were born for this? Fear won't leave because you feel ready. It leaves because you act in spite of feeling unready. Faith grows when exercised, and the more you use it, the more it expands your capacity to carry greatness. Your words are not just expressions, they are declarations of authority. Every word you speak is either a weapon for your future or a chain that locks you in your past. People underestimate the power of the tongue because they treat language like casual conversation, not realizing that life and death are in the power of the tongue. When you speak favor, when you declare alignment, when you proclaim increase and divine connection, you're not just talking, you're commanding your environment to shift. You are not a beggar hoping for favor. You are a commander walking in it. Words carry vibration, and vibration attracts reality. When you speak the right words, you begin to align yourself with the right frequency. That frequency begins to draw resources, opportunities, and divine appointments to your path. Favor is not random. Favor follows faith-filled speech. Most people repel opportunities not because they lack talent, but because they lack the language of alignment. They speak fear, defeat, hesitation, and confusion, and what you speak consistently becomes the soil that your life grows in. You attract what you affirm. If all you speak is struggle, lack, and delay, then don't be surprised when struggle, lack, and delay dominate your experience. But when you shift your mouth to match your destiny, you begin to walk under an open heaven. Speaking favor daily is not hype. It's strategy. It's spiritual alignment. It's a signal to the unseen realm that you are ready, available, and expecting what is rightfully yours. Your confession is your contract. The more intentional your speech, the more intentional your results. Divine connections don't come to the fearful. They come to the focused. And your words reveal your focus. When you declare that the right people are being drawn to your life, you create a magnetic field that attracts those aligned with your mission. Kingdom partnerships, destiny doors, mentors, and clients begin to respond to the vibration of your speech. You're not trying to convince anyone. You're simply becoming who you were always meant to be through what you say. You're not waiting for validation. You're creating it through voice. There is authority in your mouth that you've been wasting on small talk and doubt. If you could hear the impact of your words in the spirit realm, you would never again speak defeat. You would never again say, "I don't know how, I can't do it," or "maybe one day." You would rise every morning with a declaration in your mouth and a vision in your heart. The way you speak tells heaven what you're ready for. Speak favor, and favor will find you. Speak alignment, and the crooked paths will begin to straighten. Too many people are waiting for signs when signs follow declaration. You speak it before you see it. That's how faith works. You don't declare what's in your hand. You declare what's in your spirit. You speak increase when your bank is empty. You speak healing when pain is present. You speak divine appointments even when doors look shut. Because when your mouth is in agreement with heaven, the earth has no choice but to adjust. Things begin to move. People begin to respond. Systems begin to shift. You've been given creative power, not just to describe your life, but to design it. Most people use their words to reflect reality, but the wise use their words to create reality. You don't have to report what you see. You can speak what you want to see. Every word is a seed, and the harvest shows up in the form of opportunities, relationships, favor, and breakthrough. Your words are not decoration, they are direction. Speak like your next level depends on it, because it does. Nothing changes around you until something changes within you. And the first shift starts with language. When you shift from victim vocabulary to victory vocabulary, the atmosphere begins to obey. When you say, I am walking in divine favor today, heaven gets to work arranging the appointments, positioning the people, and clearing the path. When you say, I am connected to the right mentors and partners for my assignment, time starts collapsing and acceleration begins. But it begins with your mouth. You must become the loudest prophet of your own life. Stop waiting for someone else to declare your destiny. Open your mouth and declare it yourself. You don't need confirmation from man when you've already received revelation from God. Speak boldly. Speak with conviction. Speak even when your circumstances scream otherwise. The storm may rage around you, but if your words are grounded in truth, peace and power will follow. You attract what you confess, and you become what you consistently proclaim. When you walk into a room, your words should enter first. Favor walks with those who speak with authority. People should feel the shift in the atmosphere because your language carries presence. You're not just a speaker, you're a builder. Every sentence is a brick, every word is a tool, and every declaration is a command. Speak favor. Speak alignment. Speak destiny. Speak what belongs to you until everything around you starts to reflect what's within you. Excuses never built anything worth remembering. They are the language of limitation, the vocabulary of comfort zones, and the justification for mediocrity. People use excuses as a shield to protect themselves from accountability, but in doing so, they also block their access to greatness. Excuses make you feel safe while secretly keeping you small. Every time you make an excuse, you reinforce the idea that your circumstances are stronger than your choices, when in truth, your choices are the only thing that shape your destiny. Discipline is what steps in when your feelings try to take over. You will not always feel motivated, inspired, or confident, but that doesn't matter when you've trained yourself to be disciplined. Discipline does not wait for the weather to change. It moves forward no matter the conditions. It's the mindset that says, I don't need to feel like it to do it. Excuses feed emotions. Discipline feeds your future. One will give you comfort for a moment. The other will give you reward for a lifetime. The reason most people don't see transformation is because they treat discipline like an option instead of a requirement. They start things and don't finish. They make commitments with their mouth, but break them with their habits. But when you decide that discipline is your standard, you remove negotiation from the process. You no longer ask, do I feel like it? You declare, this is what I do. Success is built in the dark through consistent action that no one sees and most won't understand. And that's exactly why it works. Discipline builds momentum. It creates rhythm. Once you start operating from discipline, you begin to gather strength and confidence. You stop looking for permission because you're too busy producing results. Discipline trains your mind to ignore distractions, conquer temptations, and stay focused on what actually matters. Most people are busy, but discipline makes you effective. It filters your schedule, your thoughts, and your habits through the lens of purpose. If it doesn't serve the vision, it doesn't deserve your attention. Excuses are easy. Anybody can make them. But builders don't care about what's easy. They care about what's effective. You cannot live an extraordinary life with ordinary effort. That's why discipline is painful in the short term, but powerful in the long term. It may require sacrifice today, but it multiplies your capacity for tomorrow. While others are resting in mediocrity, you're rising in mastery. While they're distracted by what doesn't matter, you're dominating what does. Discipline separates the interested from the committed. Interested people show up when it's convenient. Committed people show up when it's required. They understand that emotions are temporary, but legacy is permanent. You don't build legacy on comfort, you build it on consistency. Every disciplined decision you make is a deposit into your destiny account. And eventually that account pays interest in results, respect, and reward. But the cost is showing up every day, whether or not you feel like it. The only way to break cycles of failure is to confront the excuses that keep them alive. You can't conquer what you keep coddling. Every time you say, "I'm too tired, I don't have time," or "I'll do it later," you are choosing your past over your future. Discipline says, "I do it anyway." Discipline gets up early, stays late, and leans in when it would be easier to check out. And while excuses are emotional, discipline is strategic. It's not about doing more. It's about doing what matters most with ruthless consistency. You won't always see results right away, and that's exactly where most people give up. They confuse delay with denial. But discipline understands the law of sowing and reaping. It keeps showing up because it knows something is growing beneath the surface. Discipline trusts the process when emotions scream for instant gratification. It sees beyond the moment into the harvest that's coming. And when that harvest shows up, it doesn't surprise the disciplined, it confirms what they already believed. The disciplined life is not easy, but it is free. Free from regret, free from lack, free from excuses that used to define you. When you choose discipline over distraction, you start to live in alignment with your assignment. Your days become more than survival. They become structure. Your actions become more than motion. They become movement. You start walking like someone who knows they're responsible for their future, not someone hoping for a breakthrough to randomly appear. Most people are waiting for life to change before they change, but discipline changes you first, and then life responds. You're not waiting for opportunity, you're preparing for it. You're not begging for success. You're becoming the version of yourself that can sustain it. That's the power of discipline. It doesn't ask life to be easier, it demands that you become stronger. And in the process, you outgrow the excuses that once held you back and rise into the excellence that was waiting all along. There's a difference between movement and progress. So many people stay busy but never build anything lasting because they're operating without a strategy. Energy without direction leads to exhaustion, not elevation. That's why intentionality is everything. If your time, your energy, your focus, and your effort are not aligned with your assignment, you're just performing activity without impact. You must decide that everything you do has to serve your vision, or it's simply not worth doing. Focus is not just about avoiding distractions. It's about knowing exactly what matters most. Every opportunity is not your assignment. Every idea is not your calling. Every invitation is not your obligation. You need the discipline to say no to the the good, so you can say yes to the great. Without focus, your potential leaks. Without clarity, your strength gets scattered. And when your energy is fragmented, your results are always diluted. Intentional living means you decide your direction before the day begins, not after the distractions show up. You have to guard your attention like your life depends on it, because it does. The world is loud. The algorithms are aggressive. The noise is endless. And if you're not intentional, you'll spend your whole life reacting to what's urgent instead of building what's important. You were not created to respond to every notification, message, or trend. You were created to dominate your domain. That requires locking in on what matters, blocking out what doesn't, and building like your purpose is on a countdown clock. Intentionality creates order, and order creates power. When your life is chaotic, your vision gets buried. But when you bring structure to your day, your goals become visible. You stop hoping for progress and start producing it. You no longer live based on emotion, you live based on execution. Your calendar becomes a tool of purpose, not a reaction to pressure. You start designing your days instead of surviving them. And in that design, you begin to see the gaps that used to steal your growth. Every hour you waste is a piece of your future you delay. That's why intentional people treat time like currency. They don't spend it. They invest it. They know where their minutes are going, and they make sure their habits match their goals. You cannot claim to want greatness while casually wasting your most valuable resource. If you truly believe in your calling, your calendar will reflect it. Your focus will prove it. Your decisions will reinforce it. Anything less is just empty ambition. Clarity multiplies results. When you know exactly where you're going, you stop hesitating. You move faster, stronger, and with greater authority. Confusion creates delay. But clarity, paired with intention, creates acceleration. And the clearer your vision becomes, the more intentional you must be about protecting it. You can't let just anyone speak into your life. You can't allow just anything into your space. When you carry a vision, you must protect your atmosphere like it's sacred, because it is. Intentional living means knowing your why and measuring every what against it. If the action doesn't push the mission forward, it's a distraction in disguise. Intentional people don't just act. They act with strategy. They don't just build, they build with blueprints. They don't just move, they move with milestones. They set targets, track growth, and adjust quickly. They're not obsessed with perfection. They're committed to progression. Every step is measured, and every decision is connected to destiny. When you live intentionally, you stop chasing outcomes and start mastering inputs. You don't just wish for better results. You become better consistently. You refine your routines, you elevate your conversations, and you focus on building habits that align with your highest identity. Intentional people aren't busy. They're booked with purpose. They don't chase validation. They stay rooted in vision. That difference shows up in how they work, how they think, and how they carry themselves in every room they enter. Intentionality demands self-awareness. You can't live on purpose if you don't know what your purpose is. You have to ask hard questions. What am I building? Why does it matter? Who does it serve? What's in the way? What needs to change? When you start living from answers instead of emotion, your whole life levels up. You stop wandering through your days and start walking with weight. You become dangerous to distraction because now your actions are aimed, not random. Your future is not created by chance, it's built by choice. Every intentional decision you make is a brick in the foundation of your legacy. No one builds a kingdom on autopilot. You build it by showing up with clarity, with focus, and with a strategy that reflects your calling. You measure your output, adjust your approach, and refuse to settle for motion without meaning. Because to live without intention is to waste the time, talent, and territory you were given to dominate. There's no such thing as accidental greatness. If you want your life to multiply, you must learn how to steward what you already have. Multiplication is not magic, it's the outcome of responsibility and order. Everyone wants abundance, but few people are willing to manage increase before it shows up. If you can't steward the little with excellence, why would you expect the much? People are praying for overflow while ignoring the systems, the habits, and the structure required to handle it. Heaven doesn't bless waste. It blesses stewardship. Multiplication is a spiritual law, not just a business principle. It's rooted in discipline, alignment, and obedience. When you align your resources, time, money, talent, and energy with purpose, you create an atmosphere where multiplication becomes possible. But if you live in chaos, you cancel increase. Order always precedes overflow. Without structure, increase becomes stress. Without systems, opportunity becomes a burden. The reason some people never walk in abundance isn't because they lack opportunity. It's because they lack preparation. Every day you delay discipline is a day you delay multiplication. What you don't manage will eventually manage you. If you can't control your schedule, you'll never master your assignment. If you can't control your thoughts, your results will always be unstable. Multiplication doesn't begin when you gain more. It begins when you master what you've been given. Too many people are waiting for a harvest when they haven't even planted with excellence. Excellence in small things creates expansion in big things. Stewardship multiplies not just money, but impact. It takes the gifts inside you and makes them useful. You can be talented and still be ineffective if you lack order. You can have vision and still never build it if you lack strategy. Multiplication doesn't reward emotion, it rewards execution. The person who multiplies is the person who plans, who tracks, who refines, who evaluates, and who adjusts with precision. This is the quiet work behind the scenes that sets the stage for visible elevation. You were never called to survive, you were called to scale. Your ideas are supposed to grow. Your influence is supposed to expand. Your wealth is supposed to be transferred and multiplied across generations. But that only happens when you stop treating your gifts casually and start treating them as kingdom assignments. Multiplication demands focus. You can't increase what you keep neglecting. You can't multiply what you won't manage. You can't expand what you won't organize. There is no multiplication without clarity. If you don't know what success looks like, how can you measure growth? If you don't know what season you're in, how can you determine what to sow or reap? Multiplication requires intentionality. It asks the hard questions. What am I building? Who is this for? What's the strategy? Where are the leaks? What needs to be cut? And what needs to be cultivated? When you start thinking like a builder, you begin acting like a multiplier. Too many people want big outcomes from sloppy input. They want massive rewards from minimal consistency. But multiplication doesn't work like that. It responds to faith and faithfulness. It requires you to show up with integrity even when nobody sees. It demands that you do the hard things long enough to see results. If you sow with excellence and manage your growth, well, multiplication becomes inevitable. Your results start compounding, and what once felt impossible becomes your new normal. Multiplication is not just about scaling what's external. It's about multiplying your internal capacity. You need more discipline, more courage, more patience, and more resilience. You need a mind that can handle what your mouth has prayed for. Multiplication without maturity is dangerous. Increase without identity leads to collapse. That's why the process matters. It builds you to sustain what you're called to carry. Your character must grow with your results, or your results will crush your character. You attract what you're prepared to manage. If you want multiplication, Don't pray for more. Prepare for more. Make room. Build systems. Eliminate excuses. Establish structure. Track progress. Honor your time. Guard your focus. Clean your environment. Upgrade your habits. This is how you signal to heaven that you're not just asking for growth. You're ready to handle it. Multiplication responds to preparation. It doesn't come to the passive. It visits the diligent and stays with the faithful. You were created in the image of a creator, and creators are designed to multiply. You weren't built for lack, for maintenance, or for average. You were designed to create, expand, and dominate. But that power is activated through stewardship. When you treat your current assignment like it matters, it begins to grow. When you take your vision seriously, doors begin to open. When you multiply what's in your hand, what's in your future starts moving in your direction. You were not created to live beneath your calling. Every day you wake up with breath in your body is proof that you are called to rise above, not bow beneath. You are the head, not the tail. You are a leader by design, not by coincidence. But if you don't speak this truth, you will start living like the lie. The world will try to press you down with fear, failure, and the weight of what you've been through, but none of those things determine your position. Your creator already did. When you walk in the truth of your identity, everything about how you think, speak, and carry yourself shifts. You don't chase validation. You release vision. You don't compete. You create. You don't wait for a seat at the table. You build your own. Being the head means you are a decision maker, a builder, a multiplier. You don't react to life, you shape it. You don't follow trends, you set direction. But that level of authority only activates when you speak it boldly and refuse to shrink into spaces that were never designed for your greatness. There will always be pressure to play small. People will try to remind you of your failures, your flaws, and your past. But you don't take your identity from people, you take it from purpose. If you're constantly trying to fit in, you will never rise up. The head leads, the head sees, the head thinks strategically, moves intentionally, and speaks with power. If you want to walk in the fullness of your calling, you must remind yourself daily that you were built for dominion, not submission to fear or insecurity. You cannot afford to think like a victim when you were created to lead. Victim thinking will drain your power, rob your confidence, and paralyze your purpose. The head doesn't look for pity, it operates in responsibility. Leaders don't look for handouts, they look for impact. You don't let your circumstances define you, you define how you respond to them, and in that response, your true identity comes to life. Every time you rise above your emotions, your past, and your limitations, you're proving that you are who heaven says you are. Being the head doesn't mean life is easy. It means you rise anyway. It means you refuse to bow to mediocrity. It means you see challenges as training, not threats. You build when others quit. You speak life when others stay silent. You show up with fire when others get tired. That's the mindset of someone who knows they're called to lead, influence, and multiply. It's not arrogance. It's alignment. You're not better than anyone else, but you are different because you've accepted your assignment. This mindset has to be repeated daily. You don't just think like the head on Monday and forget by Tuesday. You declare it until it becomes your default. You speak it until the world adjusts to the weight of your presence. You remind yourself every morning, I am chosen. I am equipped. I am the head. I set the pace. I carry answers. I walk in favor. This is not hype. It's heaven's reality. And when your words match that reality, the world around you starts shifting to respond to your authority. Rising above isn't just about external success, it's about internal mastery. If you can't lead yourself, you can't lead others. The head doesn't wait on motivation, it operates from conviction. It creates structure when there's chaos. It makes decisions with wisdom. It walks in confidence even when the outcome isn't guaranteed. That's leadership. That's what it means to rise above. And that's why you must speak like the head, think like the head, move like the head, because that's who you are. You must stop agreeing with defeat. Stop calling yourself broken, stuck, or unqualified. Every time you speak against yourself, you are cursing the very identity you were born to carry. You are not the tail, you are not the background, and you are not invisible. You are significant. You are essential. And the moment you accept that truth, you begin walking in a level of clarity and confidence that changes how you operate in every room you enter. When you see yourself as the head, you stop tolerating what doesn't serve your purpose. You walk away from confusion. You silence voices that sow doubt. You say no to anything that minimizes your mission. You understand that leadership isn't about ego, it's about excellence. You stop making excuses and you start making moves. And every time you choose action over anxiety, courage over comfort, and discipline over delay, you prove that you are no longer waiting for power. You're walking in it. Everything changes when you take your rightful place. When you stop allowing life to push you around and start commanding your space with clarity. When you start every day with the mindset of a builder, a leader, a warrior, you stop retreating and start advancing. You stop asking for opportunity and start preparing for overflow. And every step you take from that posture adds weight to your presence and impact to your purpose. Excellence is not a mood, it's a mindset. It's not something you do when you feel inspired, it's something you commit to when nobody's watching. Most people settle for good enough because excellence costs more than they're willing to pay. But if you truly want to walk in purpose, influence, and legacy, you have to make excellence your baseline, not your bonus. You weren't created to blend in with average. You were designed to reflect the nature of your creator, and your standard should mirror that high calling in everything you do. When you choose excellence, you draw distinction. In a world that rewards shortcuts, speed, and surface level effort, excellence stands out as rare, bold, and unforgettable. It's the invisible signature that follows you into every room and speaks on your behalf before you ever say a word. Excellence isn't perfection, it's intention. It's the decision to give your best even when it's inconvenient, uncomfortable, or unseen. It's not about applause, it's about alignment. When your actions match your assignment, excellence becomes your natural rhythm. Excellence starts in the details. It shows up in how you plan, how you prepare, how you speak, how you follow through, how you honor your commitments. It shows up in your discipline, your integrity, your energy. It's the reason some people rise while others remain stuck. It's not because of talent alone. It's because they treat everything they touch with intentional care. They don't take shortcuts. They don't cut corners. They understand that how you do anything is how you do everything. You cannot expect extraordinary outcomes with mediocre effort. Excellence is what activates promotion. It positions you for opportunities you didn't even ask for because people recognize and respect the consistency of your excellence. It separates those who are merely present from those who are truly prepared. The world may not reward it immediately, but it always notices. And eventually, excellence puts you in places where average can't survive. It makes room for you in circles that operate on a higher frequency. When you embrace excellence as your air standard, it redefines your identity. You stop doing things to impress others and start doing things to honor your purpose. You're no longer satisfied with just showing up. You show up ready, focused, and intentional. Excellence sharpens your edge. It elevates your confidence. It makes you magnetic. People can sense when you operate with care, clarity, and class. And that sense becomes the currency that opens doors and builds trust without you having to say a word. Excellence is a form of worship. It's how you honor the gifts you've been given. It's how you respect the opportunities you've been trusted with. It's how you treat your work, your space, your time, and your relationships. When you operate with excellence, you're saying, what I've been given matters. Who I serve matters. The impact I leave behind matters. And when heaven sees that kind of stewardship, it responds with increase. Because multiplication always follows honor. It takes courage to be excellent in a culture that celebrates shortcuts. You will be misunderstood. You'll be called extra. You'll be told to relax, to slow down, to stop caring so much. But if you lower your standard to match the crowd, you'll forfeit the crown that was meant to distinguish you. Excellence requires isolation before it leads to elevation. It asks you to do the hard things repeatedly, without recognition, and it promises that when your season comes, your preparation will speak louder than your explanation. The standard of excellence doesn't shift with your emotions. You don't become sloppy when you're tired, lazy when you're frustrated, or careless when you're overwhelmed. Excellence shows up regardless. It shows up when no one's watching. It shows up when it's inconvenient. It shows up when others would give up. And every time you choose excellence over excuses, you are reinforcing a mindset that becomes impossible to ignore. You're training your mind to show up like success is non-negotiable. What you tolerate becomes your truth. If you tolerate average in your habits, you'll experience average in your outcomes. If you tolerate laziness in your speech, your influence will reflect it. But if you build a lifestyle where excellence is non-negotiable, everything around you begins to rise to that level. Your relationships get stronger. Your results get sharper. Your identity gets clearer. People begin to respect your presence, not because of how loud you are, but because of how consistent and excellent you've become. When excellence is your standard, you stop waiting for the right moment. You create it. You stop chasing opportunities. You attract them. You stop doubting your value. You live in it. You start moving like someone who's aware of their calling and unwilling to compromise it. And as you stay faithful to that standard, you begin to walk in overflow, not just of wealth, but of wisdom, clarity, purpose, an influence that sets you apart in a world where most are still wondering why their potential hasn't produced fruit. Speak it until your atmosphere shifts. Declare it until your bloodline changes. Proclaim it until the weight of your words becomes heavier than the lies of your past. You're not waiting on favor. Favor is waiting on your voice. You are powerful, called, equipped, and positioned. And when you start telling yourself that every single day, nothing on earth can stop the rise that heaven already authorized,